I'm down to the part where I'm filing the engraving off of the forearm iron. This gun is an extractor forearm, has an extractor forearm on it, and with extractor forearms we never really worry how much material we take off, but on ejector forearms, this is what the ejector mechanism looks like on a Fox. The forearm gets a whole lot thinner underneath where all the metalwork fits in, so if we take too much metal off of the bottom or the sides, then the wood gets a whole lot thinner. When you're dealing with an extractor, it doesn't have all the extra mechanism, so it's a solid piece of wood all the way around. So you don't have to worry about taking off too much material and thinning the wood out. So I've removed all of the engraving off of the receiver flats and the underbelly of the receiver. I have not taken the engraving off the top of the receiver, and this is because as I establish the beaded fence, sometimes I end up welding on top and that gets rid of the engraving. So I just leave the engraving on top until I have to take it off. I've polished both of the receiver flats. I've made sure that they're both flat. They'll get shaped more later on, but right now I'm going to start establishing the beaded fence, and the beaded fence starts with the barrel bands. So the beaded fence on the receiver starts at the barrel bars. So to shape these barrel bars, what I'm going to do is I've got triangular files and knife files and Barrett files, and all I'm going to do is establish this bar. I want to get it a little bit deeper and I want it to be rounded. So more of the shape that it is up here. Down here it's pretty square and flat. So all I'm going to do is file into the barrel some to establish depth. So I want an even depth all the way across. And we don't worry about going too deep on these. The barrel wall thickness around the chambers is really thick. It's over 100 thousandths. So I'm not worried about going too deep on this and affecting our wall thickness on the barrels. If the barrel walls were, in the 80 thousandths around the chambers, then I probably wouldn't go as deep, but I'm really not worried about the barrel wall thickness for this gun. The fun part about all this is it's a 2-barrel set, so I have to establish all 4 barrel bars, have them be the exact same on each side, on each set of barrels, and then I have to make the forearm irons the exact same on each forearm iron. But the width of the barrel bar and the height of the barrel bar is what determines the beaded fence all the way around the back side of the receiver. So these are fairly important. So every now and then while working I come up with a a new idea on how to do something, and sometimes it works out really well and sometimes it doesn't work out really well. But what I thought about while doing this, instead of using a needle file, was I could grab my screw slotting blade and setup from Hosford and Company, and I could use a screw slotting file and establish these barrel bars a little bit better, and I kind of like it. I got the 15 thousandths blade, which is their thinnest, and it keeps everything straight and it cuts straight down, which is exactly what I want it to do. So every now and then you get lucky and your idea works out. So I like this. I'll probably keep doing it. I have a little bit more cleanup to do on this side, but I would have cleanup to do on that side anyway. So yeah, I like this. All we're doing is establishing the depth on this side, and then we'll end up rounding everything off. 'Cause right now you can maybe see it has a square. It's square here and it's a little more rounded here. I want it to be round all the way across. So you can see here the depth that I got into it, into the barrel bar, and you can see the width of it. And all I'm going to do now is take a file and I'm going to clean up this surface so it has a nice curve into the barrel bar, and then I'm going to make the whole barrel bar be a half circle, I guess, just like it is up here, because right here it's all flat. So that's what I'm going to do with needle files now. So I've got the barrel bar where I want it. I'm going to put the forearm iron on and start establishing the bar on the forearm iron, because I want all of this to match. I always do this with the receiver on because that puts the forearm iron in the proper alignment. Fortunately on this, it looks like the forearm iron is a little bit larger than the barrel bar, so I don't have to weld anything on. I can just remove material. So that's what we'll start doing now. So I think I've got both sides of the barrel bars and the forearm bars finished. They're to the size that I want them to be. They're defined, they're rounded off. At the very end of this one, I've got a gap between the forearm iron and the barrel. If I have two options as to what I could do. I could weld a little bit in there and reshape it, or the way that I'm going to do it is I'm going to end up curving this whole forearm iron. So it'll have a curved shape. It'll almost mirror the curved shape that it has when it comes around the receiver. It'll be curved down here and it'll be curved up here. So once I curve it, I'll get rid of that gap. So I'm not worried about that at all. But if I was just going to leave it square and flat, I would go in with a TIG welder, clean that up, and reshape it. But other than that, barrel bars on this are done. Now I'll have to do the second set of barrels and get them to be the same width and the same height. But these are ready to go.